What's up guys, Justin here with the Online Business Essentials. So in today's video, we're going to talk about how to save objects to your Camtasia library for reuse in future projects. Let's go ahead and just jump into it. Okay, so pretty much everything I do is with the goal of streamlining my processes as much as possible so that I can get as much done as possible in the shortest amount of time. One of the ways that I do this is by creating my own custom libraries. And so within Camtasia, you can access the library function on the left-hand side of the page. And basically what that's going to allow you to do is that's going to allow you to access your library of different things, right? So any elements that are going to go on your timeline down below, you can save them in your library function. So for example, if you click on the drop down right here for Camtasia 2022, it has a number of different library things in here already. Okay, and so those are pre-built in, but we want to talk a little bit about how we can actually create our own. So to create your own library, what you can do is you can click on the drop down right here and you can click on the option for create new library. And so when you do that, what that's going to do is that's going to pop up a box right here where you can type in a name. And so I'm going to duplicate the one I already have. I'm just going to call this the Online Business. And then in the drop down below, you're going to have the option to create a new blank library or to use an existing library as a basis. So that would bring in the different assets that are contained inside of the existing libraries for use in your new library. In this case, I'm just going to click on blank and I'm going to click on create. But if you were to use that as a template, it would basically just include everything that's on that list right here inside of this library. But now what we want to do is we want to save something to this library. So let's do something really simple. So I'm just going to create an annotation that I might use over and over again. So I might want to create an annotation that goes in the bottom of my page that says where my Camtasia affiliate link is. So what I might do is I might come in here and just set this up. So we're just going to call this download or try Camtasia for free affiliate link. Then I'll put the link down below. And then we'll come over here to the right-hand side and we'll adjust the style. And so what I want to do is I want to put a dark fill with a little bit of transparency. So maybe like 85% or something like that. I'm going to change my text to white and I'm going to toggle this outline off. So I'm just going to put the outline to 0, right? And so this is something that I might drop in a lot of different videos. So I want to save it for use later so that I don't have to recreate it over and over again. And so what I'm going to do with this object is I'm going to right click on it, and notice how when you right click on it, there's an option to add to library. And so what I want to do is I want to add that to my library right here. And so when I do that, this is going to give me the option to select where that goes. So in this case, I want that to go in this Online Business Essentials. We're going to go ahead and we're going to call this annotation dash Camtasia affiliate link. And usually I go with the use canvas size for the option right here, but we're going to click on OK. Well, now if I look in my Online Business Essentials library, notice how that shows up here, and it's basically going to be this item. So it's going to have the same length, right? 5 seconds. And what that means is that means that I can drag it into any project. So if I click and drag like this, notice how that just comes in here and it's going to retain all of the different settings that we had set up for our library object. Okay. So let's say that we didn't want to import a Camtasia object. We want to import another media object. So for example, I might use a logo over and over again. Well, you can come over here to the left-hand side of the page and you can right click on this and you can click on the option to import media to library. So that's going to allow you to find a kind of media. So in this case, I've got this simple logo right here. Well, I can double click on that and I can add that to my library. Well, basically what that's done is that's added that logo object to my library, and now I can drag it in here and I can place it on my screen. So now I can access that logo at any time in the future. Note that you can, and I'm just going to duplicate this object. So I'm just going to do a copy to. Note that you can also right click on objects in here and you can delete them if you want to remove them. That will break some links, so make sure you're not using them in your active projects, but you can definitely remove these as well. So another thing you might want to do is you might want to bring in something that has multiple different elements down below. Okay, so say I wanted to bring this whole thing in here, right? So I want to bring in the logo, I want to bring in the little box, I want to bring in my background shape, and I want to bring in my text. Okay, and so there's two ways that you can do this. So the first is you can take all of these objects and you can make them into a group. So I'm just going to take this whole thing. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to click on the option for group right here. What that does is that creates a group of objects, right? And you know that you can double click on these to go into the group and edit the individual objects like this. And then you can close out of that when you're done. But the other thing that you can do is you can save groups of objects into your library as well. So I'm going to go ahead and right click and rename this. And I might just call this quick. I'm going to call this video intro label, or whatever you want it to be. But you can take that, and that name is what's going to show up when you add this to your library. But you can right click on it and you can click on the option to add library, and you can add that to your online business essentials library right here. Well, what that means is that now I've got this video intro that I can drag in, and it's going to have all of those objects inside of it. And so let's say I had this object in here and I ungrouped it. I'm just going to take this whole thing and I'm going to select all of these objects, right click and click on add to library. Well, notice what that's going to do is that's going to automatically group your objects. So I'm just going to call this label, click on OK. That'll automatically create a group with everything that you had selected with that name. So if you don't want to group them ahead of time, you can still drop them in your library by doing that. Okay, and so one thing that you might find helpful is if you work across multiple different computers, you might want to take this whole library and you might want to export it for use on a different computer. So if you want to do that, what you can do is you can select the library that you want. Over here, you can right click and there's an option in here to export library. And so when you do that, what you can do is you can export this library zip file. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to name this Online Business Essentials. And so what that's going to do is that's going to export this file that you can then import to other instances of Camtasia. So if you have Camtasia installed on a different computer or something like that, and so what you can do is you can go to your library section, right click and click on the option to import zipped library, and you can go find that library file. So when you do that, and you bring that in, you can either import it to an existing library or you could create a new one. So in this case, I'm going to create a new one. And so if you create a new one, it's just going to bring it in with the name of the zip file that you brought in. So either way, you can use this to export and import your library files across multiple different machines. And so we'll talk more about this in the future, but there's also an option in here under download more assets to get into Camtasia's asset library and download more of these. Now this is a paid feature, but it does contain a large number of different assets that you can use in your videos. Like I said, we'll talk more about this in a future video, but just know that it is here and it is an option if you do need more things like intros, outros, templates, other things like that. All right, so that's where I'm going to end this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you have any questions about libraries in Camtasia. I just love having that conversation with you guys. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.